So does that mean that if you have a farm and you have people working for you, it's working while you're sleeping because the plants are growing. If you sell food on the side of the road and you prepare it, and then you can start to hire other people to, the basic work of cutting up the produce, of preparing and packaging, etc. And then you can start to use your brain to then start seeing, okay, we should be in this location next to this bus station versus that bus station. And then you can start to scale and start to build momentum. Again, that's the whole point of teamwork. Then you start building something that's bigger than yourself. And now you have something, oh, wow, you have an X number of employees. That will then start giving you tremendous economic returns. If it's that you have a service, it's, whatever it is, there are opportunities out there. I mean, look, my recollection is, basic things, water. One of the problems you have on a day-to-day basis are there issues with delivery of water? Are there issues with delivery of electricity? Are there issues with roads? Are there issues with any type of basic service?
Even with, especially on a large part of the continent, just growing food.
Yes.
Growing food, the soil is fertile in a large part of it, and it rains and things grow. So, however, there may be that perspective among some graduates or professionals who may feel that the whole farming seems to not be fully embraced because perhaps farming is harder work, but that's where leverage could come in, that's where teamwork could come in. So what's your perspective on that?
Everybody needs to eat, right?
Yeah.
It's a basic need, food, clothing, shelter. If all the people who are perceived as smart are going in one direction, and everybody says, I want to work for this bank, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, oh, okay, I want you to make as much money as you can, so then you can come and pay me when you need to eat. You see?
Right. Right.
So what I would do, and I don't know that farming, as you know, I have involvement in a venture that does hydroponic farming. And so that was our tack on food production. We actually, our lens is, we're not looking for broad food production for our entire country. We're looking at producing food for a small niche. We deliver direct to consumer so that we can capture a higher margin, right? And the reason that we do that is because our folks are very happy to pay a premium for what we deliver, because we deliver more than just food for them. We deliver nutrition, freshness, and peace of mind. And that's our value add. We're always adding on to the value of the services, the goods, the experiences that people are purchasing from us. What I would say with that, though, is the only way we've gotten to this point as far as experience and understanding the value we can deliver to folks is by actually starting and building a greenhouse, actually starting and growing crops. So what I mean to say by that is that for me, the determinant of success is not the alphabet soup behind your name.
Right.
And I'll repeat that, it's not the alphabet soup. Like the alphabet soup is useful in getting in the door, oftentimes with large organizations.
Yes.
But beyond that, it's the proof that's in the pudding is how can you perform? How can you help us to do better? And so if you can create value, if you start talking about food, McDonald's, it's a massive organization, right? If you start talking about food, look at the folks who distribute water, right?
Yeah.
There's opportunity. There's massive opportunity. If I was to go into the food production industry in the continent now, it would not be it would be understanding where all the value is made in the value chain.
Right.
Right. So if I'm just out of university, I might say, okay, I need to produce. Or I might say I need to trade, which might mean for me, my lens might be, okay, I need to understand how much rice is selling for in these markets at, when it's broken down to these sizes, and then how much is it being sold for when it's being sold by the container. So that might mean, even as you start to talk about entrepreneurship, it might be say, okay, my ultimate goal is to be able to learn about this industry. And so I'm going to take a job that actually pays me less.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm not going to necessarily chase the highest salary. I'm going to have a job that's at the front line so I can actually understand what's actually going on. My lens, while everybody around me is saying, oh, I just physically do the X to Y, I click these things or click that things, I'm going to be observant and I'm going to look up, see what the opportunities are. And then when I start to see opportunities, I'm going to test them. And part of my entrepreneurship might be entrepreneurship, which might be, okay, now I'm going to start taking these things that create value, and I'm going to take them up the value, up the chain of command, so to speak, especially if I can get an audience with the owner. Because I can guarantee you this: if an employee can come to an owner and show them a way that they can create an increase of 5% in profit,
yes,
writing your own check.
yeah,
Especially as the organizations become larger, you're writing your own check. And you may learn those things even in working in smaller organizations first, and then go to the when you speak to large organizations, if you choose to then start to interview in those large organizations, you're not coming to me and saying, when they interview you, they say, how, tell me about yourself. And you say, well, I had I took a 98% in mathematics. No, what you're saying is, well, with what I know about your industry in grain distribution, I know that the market price in Lagos is different to the market pricing here in Freetown. And so there's an opportunity here. And so one of the things I've seen is with distribution, if we use trucks versus train or whatever, when you have that conversation, you're already hired.
Yeah. And it's so relevant, because I don't know what percentage of inter-country trade occurs on the continent. To think of, because there are things that are being imported, and sometimes when I look through the list of things being imported, I think, how does that even make sense? Because we have in certain parts of the continent the ability to grow things and produce the things that have been imported, and surely it's a lot more cost effective for a neighboring country to make something, sell it to another country within the same landmass, where you can use trucks or something else than having to fly things in. Yes. I really like what you said about getting and understanding where you're going to bring value in the chain, and the concept of apprenticeship, because many graduates or professionals may feel that role is beneath me. And even in that whole food production, I'm just thinking, one of the things that I didn't really enjoy doing so much is when you're cooking West African food and you're cooking what we call plasas with the leaves, and you have to pick each leaf. You have to pick each leaf, then you have to wash it, then you have to slice it. That's hugely time consuming. And as a girl, that is your role. So therefore, even one value chain, just that concept of, if you found a business where you got people to do that, wash, package, people may actually pay for the time savings that they see,
Absolutely. This is when we start talking about value. The value in the product. If you want to differentiate your product so it's not commoditized, right? So the value to me as a consumer is if I could go and, when you look at, I don't know how much you deal with prepackaged goods or prepackaged foods now, in certain countries. But obviously in the West, you see a lot of prepackaged goods.
Yes.
And so somebody's selling noodles, which is basic carbohydrate, very cheap, right? But they're selling it at a premium if it's something you just add water to, for example.
Yes.
And when you start to look at traditional dishes or basic delicious dishes like plasas, different types of plasas, potato leaf, whatever, then you say, okay, can I keep this fresh? Can I have this so it makes it very easy for the person who's busy and they are a lawyer, a homemaker, they work in a shop, they do whatever they do, but I can save them an hour of their time, because you're not selling plasas. You're not selling plasas. What you're selling is time. Yes. What you're selling is the opportunity for them to spend time with their family, with their loved ones, with their children. That's invaluable. And so when you're having that conversation, so it's a different way of looking at things. And so I suppose one of the things I should say is probably the most important skill sets that somebody can have and develop attributes is curiosity. Curiosity and the ability to just change the way you look at things. If you can find things that everybody else accepts as the norm, and you can just keep asking the question why. This is why I talk about for me, one of the major things I've had to do is learning to unlearn what you are taught for much of your life in academia, which is, I should not look stupid. I should not ask stupid questions. Yeah. And I must get everything right. So if we can learn to just ask more questions, we can learn to say, I don't know, or even I don't know, or I don't have an opinion on that as of yet. Yeah. And we can ask stupid questions, ask questions of things that are really obvious, because sometimes they're just the way they are because that's the way they've always been done. Sometimes asking those questions, a majority of the time, it may just end up being, it may not go anywhere. But sometimes you may just keep asking questions to say, okay, all right, there might be an opportunity here.
Yeah, it's so it's listening to that, for me, it is still a little bit just astounding that so many people, that is what they were taught. Because really, when I think of my experiences, we were totally encouraged to ask stupid questions. We ask questions all the time. So perhaps then there is value for these for these institutions, because I think universities are a great idea. They just need to broaden perhaps how they present things for some of the subjects. They need to broaden the, not just formal on book learning, but also introduce that the concept of like an internship, or the concept of a work placement, so people get some practical skills as well.
I would say yes, and I think the universities can definitely improve their sort of value proposition. What I would say is, if somebody's going to spend the time, if you're spending the time today to watch this or watch anything else, and you're saying, okay, I want to be such and such, very frankly, the onus is on you.
Yeah.
The tools that are available today are amazing. The power of YouTube is incredible. You can learn. I can learn right now on YouTube. I can keep searching and figure out how to go and change a car engine. I don't know anything about car engines. You see what I'm saying? Yes, Elon Musk is a special type of individual, but he claims that much of his learning of rockets is simply from reading books.
Yeah.
The information is out there. This information isn't under lock and key. We just have to know how to find it. And we have Google and YouTube. We have tools to be able to find information now. So the onus is on you as an individual. And a key encouragement, I had a classmate when I was in high school here, and he had some, he's a guy he's dyslexic. He did not have the best academic performance, to say the least, nor the best athletic performance, to say the least. I don't know if you actually know him. He ended up representing our country in the Winter Olympics. And to let you know, we have no snow in our country. And
I love that.
I think it was the skeleton and the bobsled. No, the skeleton. And the way that he trained was that he was strapped to the top of his mother's car, which was, and they used to drive as fast as possible to mimic this down the runway at the airport. Right. And the reason I say I smile about this is he's now the CEO of a local organization, etc. Again, he's the same person. He has learning challenges. He's the same person, but what he has is he has the ability to take things on himself and just say, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to go ahead and do it. And he made that decision. And simply taking action, taking that first step, can be the differentiator between the person who sits here and waits to be chosen and the person who chooses for themselves.
Sometimes people may struggle with arriving at that point. There's some people who just go ahead and do what they believe they want to do. And then there are many people who might be dissuaded by the environment. If they say, oh, I want to go do this, and someone's going to say, you mean you went and you studied for this long, or you're at this level, therefore you shouldn't go do that. What can you advise people who might be influenced negatively, which then stops them from trying?
Sure, absolutely. So it's almost like talking to a therapist here. So
tell me about your problems.
No, this is part of my personal journey, I guess. Here's the thing. No matter what your faith, no matter what your view on spirituality is, etc., here's a fact. A fact. We will all die.
Yes.
And that liberates you.
Wow.
Me, that liberates you.
Write this down.
when you remember that no matter what you do, what choices you make, you will die. So if I go and I'm not a comfortable public speaker, or at least historically I was not. The fact of the matter is, though, it's much easier for me to say yes to things than to say no to things, because I recognize that if there's an opportunity to help, to add value to the world, and I say yes, I don't know what will come of it, but something more positive is more likely to happen than if I don't take that opportunity. So I'm going to be less afraid of failing, right? A lot of us are afraid of success because of the changes we will have to experience as far as success. A lot of us are afraid of failure because we're afraid that somebody will see us and they'll hear us stutter. Somebody will see us and they'll see that we're imperfect, that we're human beings. You know, that if we wear a tie, our tie may not be appropriately adjusted, or we may say something and we look like a fool. The fact of the matter is, we're going to die. It doesn't matter, right? Once you accept that, then you say, okay, let's live. Now you can make a choice to live or not to live, and that's a liberating thought for me.
Yeah, that's very deep, but it's also very true, because we fear and therefore we don't do things because either the time may not be right, or someone may disapprove of what you wear. Someone may even disapprove of how you sound, how you have your hair. Anything, someone may disapprove of you just trying to take that step because they don't have the courage to take that step. So they say, oh, if it was me, I wouldn't do that. And then that plays in your mind, whereas that is the step you should take. So it is knowing that, like you say, we will all die. So while we're here, fulfill your purpose.
Live. I mean, and we don't know when we'll die. At least I don't.
Nobody does.
You know, you don't know when, you don't know where, right? So the fact of the matter is that you know, as one gets mature in life, one starts to experience death, starts to see death with folks. And some people, with the brevity of life, you kind of have to just snatch these opportunities.
Yeah.
You know, it's an interesting thing. I mean, if you really start to do the math, think about, you know, I'm fearful to say that I'm now middle-aged. I must which is a shock.
You're not middle-aged compared to what? I remember in the olden days, people lived till about 700. What are you saying?
Yeah, well, we'll do our best. We'll do our best. In that case, I'm just a toddler. But I mean, the fact of the matter is that age should not be a limitation on, you know, your perception of how old you are and waiting for somebody else to give you permission to be mature, to be mature enough to learn, make your mistakes, take action now. And the fact that you know that you're going to die is liberating, because what's the worst can happen? What worse can happen than that? Really? Yeah. It's just finality. Like death is finality. And so what's going to happen other than that? Oh, I'm going to be hungry. Okay. And then after that, I'm going to be successful. I'm going to eat well. Or I'm going to be frustrated. Or I'm going to have really challenging moments. Or I'm going to have insecurities. Okay. And I'm going to learn from those, and I'll evolve. And that's what's going to help me to grow.